Welcome, everybody, to this week's DevCentral Connects. My name is Buu, one of your community evangelists on the DevCentral team. I'll be joined by Aubrey King in just a second as well, but we have a few things to go over. Today, we've actually got a great conversation that we had with Kevin Jones. He's one of our resident crypto experts here at F5. He's part of the NGINX group. He's a senior product manager over there, but he also dabbles in a lot of crypto stuff on the side. So really looking forward to sharing that later on in the live stream today. We'll be talking about Ethereum's change to proof of stake as opposed to proof of work and all the computational power that uses right now. And so that's a really exciting change. It actually should be happening like any moment now, I believe, like either today or tomorrow. That switch will be happening. But before we do that, we're going to talk about some news after I bring on Aubrey. And before that, I have a couple of things to mention to you all. So if you are watching from something like YouTube right now, then there's a subscribe button down there. If you could, just scroll down, hit that, scroll back up, and keep watching. Hit the like button if you get a chance as well. If you're watching from LinkedIn right now, make sure you're following DevCentral. If you're watching from Twitter, make sure you're following us on the @DevCentral handle on there as well. And I think we're on Facebook, maybe one or two Facebook accounts right now as well. So please check us out on there. But if anything, we would love for you to sign up for community.f5.com, which is our global user community. And we have a lot of cool stuff going on there right now that I want to highlight to everybody. First of all, this is the homepage. And I want to draw your attention to a couple things on here. Right now, we have our featured member of the month for September, and that is Pascal Coopers. There's a little bit of write-up on him. You can learn more about Pascal and how involved he is with F5. But also, on the homepage here, there is this National Coding Week escape room that our own Jason Rom put together. There's an article on that. There's a link on there. And I got a preview of this already. It's super cool. It allows you to learn a little bit more about F5 while going through an escape room. If you've been through one of those before, you're kind of picking up clues along the way. And the clues are actually, well, I don't even want to talk about that right now. You just go on there, check it out. It's a really fun thing to play. Shouldn't take you all day to do it. It'll take you just a little bit of time to go through, but you're picking up things along the way. So I think it's a cool thing to go through. And then just coming back on here, let me zoom this back out here. If you head over to the groups and you take a look at the community groups, there is the DevCentral Connects group. So all of the shows, we put all of the summaries for the shows into that group. Head over, free to join, free for all of community.f5.com to be a part of. But check that out. We've got some stuff on there. Also, you'll notice there's distributed cloud users on there as well. That's a new thing. I don't think it's totally publicly announced yet, but it's actually hidden on there. So anybody who's watching right now will know about that. Also, just wanted to highlight a couple other things. We haven't put it up yet, but there will be some events that Aubrey and myself will be attending in October. Aubrey's heading over to KubeCon, KubeCon North America, I should say, and that's in Detroit. That's happening in the third week of August, I believe. And then I'm heading to Singapore for GovWare, which is a big government security-focused content conference in Singapore. That's in the third week of second week of October. I got to get my dates straight. We'll get them in the events calendar, though. But we always love to do content out there, talk to the community that's out there, talk to the partners that we have out there, talk to the people in the booth. So look for that stuff coming out as well. And one more thing that I want to mention, let me pull this off of the screen here, but recently I've been working with our Office of the CTO team because they have a new book that they've released called Enterprise Architecture for Digital Business. It's a number of different authors that have put together the individual chapters of that book to create a great book around what enterprise architecture needs to look like for this kind of new age of digital transformation and taking standard business processes that you're doing physically and turning those into digital processes. And so had a great chat with Joel Moses. He's a distinguished engineer with F5 and also F5's Chief Technology Officer for Systems. And he was a DevCentral MVP at one point as well. So great to see one of our alumni doing awesome things at F5. So I want to show you guys a little bit of a clip of that. It's got a link to go download that book as well, and I'll throw that link into the description on the YouTube show and on the DevCentral Connects group as well. So we'll be right back. For 3 centuries, the Renaissance drove renewed interest in classical philosophy, literature, and art. As the third wave of the internet washes over the technical foundations of digital business, there's renewed interest in classical infrastructure compute, network, and storage capabilities, particularly at the edge of the network. I've been having discussions with the authors of Enterprise Architecture for Digital Business. And in this discussion, I'll be speaking to Joel Moses, Distinguished Engineer and Chief Technology Officer of Systems at F5. He's the author of Chapter 2, An Infrastructure Renaissance. He explores infrastructure and the standards that will impact the future of infrastructure architectures, like the ecosystem forming around ARM architectures. He talks about 5G and container-native workloads. He uncovers the hidden advantages of the XPU industry, which is driving unprecedented power into the edge. Most importantly, he will examine how organizations can take advantage of these advances in a digital enterprise architecture and how public cloud and edge computing play a significant role in a modern view of infrastructure. It's always a pleasure to chat with Joel, and I hope you enjoy this discussion. Alrighty. Hello, Aubrey. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Boo?
I am not too bad. Not too bad. One thing I forgot to tell folks is that wherever you are watching from right now, we would love for you to throw that into the chat. It's always interesting to see where people are from. Aubrey, you've been working on some stuff in different content in different languages, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's something that I think is actually pretty important. I saw what Becca did with a bunch of Japanese language content, and I was kind of inspired by that, honestly. So I kind of, during one of my projects, which I'm not going to disclose for the month of October, it occurred to me, I was talking with one of our engineers who was in Singapore, but who speaks Hindi as well. He is from India natively. And he said, yeah, I can do some Hindi content for you. And that ended up, by the end of the day, I had a couple of pieces of content that were done in Spanish, some promised in Brazilian and Russian. And so, yes, we're moving forward and trying to get more of that.
Yeah, that's odd, because you're also fluent in Spanish, if I'm not mistaken.
Solo hablo un poquito, señor.
There we go.
Teeny tiny.
Awesome. All right. Oh, and Jason Rom, get well, Jason. Jason's a little bit sick today, so we got Aubrey standing in, but we're all set. Hopefully Jason gets better. And he left us with a great gift of the coding week escape room as well. So I can't wait to check that out in a little bit.
I was thinking, I heard you say, Boo, that it shouldn't take you all day, but it occurred to me that, at least if it does take you all day and you're out there watching the show, at least you could tell your boss you're working on F5 stuff all day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Good work, Jason.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And from here, we've got a few news articles to talk through today, and let me scroll this one up here. So we'll start with this one. This is so this was bigger. I mean, this is news that's progressing, and this was kind of first hit the news a few weeks back. But there is let's call him info security. He's a big name in the info security community. Peter Zatko, or also known as Mudge, is his Twitter handle, I believe. And he's been in the news a number of times before, but one of the things that currently he's well known for is he was previously head of security at Twitter. He was there for about a year and a half, and he became a whistleblower. There are some things that he saw within Twitter, and on things that people were being bored or was being misled about some stuff, and that turns into regulations that weren't being met. And now he's being called in to testify in front of Congress. And the timing works out with Elon Musk and his Twitter deal that he's trying to get out of at this point. And we'll also highlight as well that our own Dan Woods wrote an article about how Twitter is likely 80% bots, depending on your definition of bots there. So it's not looking, not to throw a whole bunch of bad news on Twitter, but it's not looking good with some of the stuff that he had on here. So I think it's pretty interesting to kind of watch how this progresses.
It's funny, and I agree with you 100% with that. But the bots thing is funny. As soon as I read Dan Woods' article on on the bots on Twitter, it made me think of I started over my Twitter when I first came to this role, and immediately I had all kinds of people that kind of showed up, and I went through that list to see how many were suspected of being bots, and it wasn't that many. However, when I looked at my TikTok, yes, I'm on TikTok, sorry. But when I looked at TikTok, oh my God, it's all nonstop bots. I have no followers that aren't bots, except my wife. So.
That you think is her. Maybe she created a bot to make you think that she actually pays attention to your TikTok.
It's popular. Maybe she just pities me and wanted to make me feel like I was popular on TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a great spouse to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's see. I'll let you. You had two of these articles here, Aubrey. Which one do you want to talk about?
Boy, I guess probably the BBC one first. I would think. Not the
Starbucks.
The other one, not Starbucks.
BBC. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So this is an interesting one for me. One of the things that this made me think of immediately was somewhere around like 2002, 2003. I had a friend of mine from Holland who called me up and just started yelling at me, talking to me. How could I let my government do this, that, and the other? How could I, we should vote things and do things differently. And I said, what are you talking about, man? I don't know what you're talking about. And he pointed me to an article that was on a European outlet that was nowhere to be found on any U.S. outlets. So for me, this one, and if it's out there, please, somebody, post it. But we just passed legislation that really changes how we can do business with China. And whatever your thoughts are on that, politics wise, I'm not going to go into that in the slightest. It doesn't really matter. The interesting thing to me was that I did not find this on United States news articles, and it was a story about our government and something they have just legislated. This was top news on BBC as far as tech. And the idea behind this article is we have in the United States, we have limited how we can do business with China. And the unfortunate piece of that is we have a couple of chip manufacturers here in the U.S. that are talking to the government now about, hey, I'm going to completely miss my numbers. I'm looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that will be missed because of this legislation. So really, as soon as I saw the article, it reminded me that I've been talking with Aaron Brailsford a lot. You probably know that, Boo. When I do the This Month in Security feature and some other security stories that I work on, and Aaron talks about the supply chain quite frequently and its impact on security. This one is the supply chain and its impact on just tech business as a whole. So if you missed the news that we did just change legislation on how we can interact with China, it is out there. And if you're missing it in the U.S. news, I'd encourage you to go check it out in BBC.
Yeah.
Oh, we got someone saying hello from China too.
Oh,
it would appear.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you for, I won't attempt the name right now, but thank you very much for tuning in today. That's awesome. What I'll say about this too. So with Ethereum's change to proof of stake as opposed to proof of work, and proof of stake is you put up Ethereum in order to be a validator. And so you're not doing, the proof of work, and all that computational power isn't happening anymore. And not to steal the thunder of that, but it's going to affect video card prices. So I'm wondering, I built a computer for my son at the worst possible time, I think, like in the drought of video cards and trying to locate one and, having to wait for a few weeks and kind of refreshing the local computer um, store's website until I could find one that was coming in. And I think, yeah, I think they're going to be abundant now, but that's okay. I can build another computer for my other son.
Well,
So.
maybe the price of crypto chips and things like Intel's QAT will come down as a result now that they can use graphics cards and things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so having said that, we've got 2 more articles. We're running up on times though, so we'll actually throw those into community.f5.com. Would love for everybody to comment on those because they are interesting articles. This first one here, Starbucks details its blockchain-based loyalty platform and NFT community, Starbucks Odyssey. I think that'll be cool to chat about, especially given the stuff that we'll be talking about today with Kevin Jones. And this one here, Microsoft. I didn't even know you could actually use basic. Maybe I'm just unaware. You could use basic auth with Exchange Online. Didn't know people still did that. Anyways, they're getting rid of it in October 1st. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised that they allowed it for that long on Exchange Online services. So that one is going away. That's more of an FYI, I guess, at this point.
it's a feature, not a miss. It's a feature.
Good call. Okay, cool. Let me just roll this, and we're gonna move over to the discussion that I had with Kevin Jones in just a second here, and we'll be right back.
A lot of developers are sort of missing security mindsets, and a lot of security teams are missing a developer mindset. So I'm finding that a lot of security teams and developer teams are not really talking to each other well. They're not collaborating very well, which is a complaint I've heard from a lot of security people while I'm at this conference, is how do I get to my developers essentially to do what I want them to do? And things I hear from developer friends of mine is, well, how do I get the security team to essentially get off of my back? So one thing that we're trying to do as an industry is do something called shifting security left, which essentially means getting security into the mindset and the framework of how developers are already working earlier on in their process, such that they can actually integrate security before it becomes a big issue. And then that's when the security team is like, hey, like, this is busted, you need to fix it. And developers are like, that's cool. I'm on crunch time and I'm not getting paid overtime, so like, get out of my face. It's not good. So just really quickly, something that we do with that is we integrate tools like SaaS tools, we integrate DaaS tools. We can put things like that in a CI/CD pipeline. We can start scans early on in the process at a unit testing level. And it's just really exciting to see all the different things that security is trying to do to bridge that gap so that developers and security can have a better relationship.
Hey there, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I am joined by Jason Rom today, fellow community evangelist with the F5 DevCentral team. And we have on guest Kevin Jones, who is a senior product manager with our NGINX group here at F5. And he's also kind of our resident expert when it comes to crypto. You may have seen some videos that we've done with him before around blockchain and Web3 development as well. So thanks, Kevin, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And we are going to be talking about this new change that's happened with Ethereum, and they've moved on from different validation methods. So why don't we give you the floor for a second and kind of talk us through the changes that are happening and, what's at stake?
That's a great way to transition there. What's at stake? So that's exactly what's changing is we're going into a new era of Ethereum, and they're moving the consensus algorithm to proof of stake. So you might be asking, like, what is the consensus algorithm? So in a blockchain-based network, right, you have this concept of nodes, and all of the nodes are operating kind of independently. You don't have this kind of centralized operator, right? So all of the nodes have to kind of come into a consensus in some way or another. For Bitcoin and for Ethereum currently, it's using proof of work, which is kind of this method where all of the nodes are competing to take these transactions that are put into the network, and they're trying to compete on who's going to validate them using a specific algorithm called proof of work. And it's basically like a mathematical puzzle. They're all trying to use resources, whether it's GPUs for Ethereum or if you're using ASICs and GPU power for Bitcoin, and they're trying to solve this puzzle. And the first person to solve it gets a reward to secure the network. And basically the transition now for Ethereum is they're moving to proof of stake, which is this new way of validating transactions where there are no miners, in the sense that the miners are not competing to validate transactions. And instead, validators are people that put up a little bit of stake. Basically, they put up a amount of crypto as stake into kind of like a security deposit. And they're in charge of validating these transactions, and they're picked at random. And so this is way more energy efficient because it doesn't require this kind of competitive work on the GPUs and the ASICs. And so what you're left with is this kind of about 99.6% less power being used by the network consensus algorithm.
That is what they would say significant. That's a significant reduction.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one of the criticisms, I guess. So we have like Bitcoin and Ethereum miners and all this compute power going in, and there has been some criticism around crypto when it comes to energy consumption.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I'm not going to say I particularly think it's bad proof of work in the sense, because I think that for what Bitcoin is as this kind of like store of value where you're actually locking up large amounts of funds, it's very slow transaction times. It takes about 10 minutes to validate a transaction. It makes it more difficult to attack. So it's a little bit more secure in the proof of work mechanism. But proof of stake, for something like Ethereum, where it's supposed to be the gateway of Web3, and the gateway of this new decentralized way to operate an application, you need faster transactions, right? You need, if you're somewhere and you want to buy something in the future that maybe they take Ethereum, you don't want to wait 10 minutes. And so you would use something that's quicker. And Ethereum right now is about a 15-second transaction time, but the proof of stake change will actually make it even faster for connections. I think Vitalik said that at some point in the near future, after all of the kind of merges happen, there's more than just the merge, there's the splurge, and there's some other things that are going to happen to the network that are going to make it so you can, the Ethereum can do about, on the entire network, can do about 100,000 transactions per second, which is dramatically faster than Bitcoin.
Wow. I guess that's why you can buy a Maserati with Bitcoin and not, the Target checkout line. A 10-minute transaction, that would be chaos.
Yeah, and for Bitcoin, there are what they call layer twos. So there's the Lightning Network, which combats that, whereas you do these kind of like off-chain kind of pools of money where you can settle off layer for these larger kind of transactions, or smaller transactions, I should say. So if I want to send Boo, if I want to send you like $1,000, right, I could do that on a Bitcoin transaction on the mainnet. But if I was just sending you $5 for some money that I owed you, or I don't know, you bought me a soda at work or something like that, that might be something you can put into the layer 2 Lightning Network. And so Ethereum is kind of, right now, like I said, it's about a 15-second kind of transaction time. That's going to go down even more. I think that's going to help the scalability of the network in that sense.
So speaking of scale, I mean, there's these big crypto mining farms that are out there, and this is probably changing the game for them. Like, what happens to these huge farms that are being built out just focusing on mining Ethereum? Yeah,
I think GPUs are about to get a lot cheaper right now, right? For a long time, GPUs, I don't know if you guys remember, but GPUs prices skyrocketed. And so, I think, there's still some other, ways you can still technically can mine Bitcoin with a GPU, but it's not as efficient. They have the ASICs, which are kind of dedicated units for mining Bitcoin. So it's interesting. There's even been some talk of like a side chain that might come out of this merge, where maybe there's this kind of like another version of Ethereum that stays proof of work, and then you have this new chain that is the proof of stake chain. There's been talk of that. I don't think that's going to work out too well, but we'll see what happens with all of this hardware that's going to be kind of suddenly deprecated. Even myself, I have one here. I guess I'm gonna have to start gaming again.
How's the transition like that work? I know I was reading one article and they said, well, we're gonna start the merge sometime now, and then it's gonna be like in the course of like 14 days or something like that. What does that do to the network, a transition that slow?
Yeah, well, so just like any kind of major application upgrade, we have test nets on Ethereum, right? So they've gone through and they've run the upgrade on the test nets. They pretty much finished the last test net.
Alrighty. So I think that'll be, well, first of all, the entire discussion that we had with Kevin is going to be found on youtube.com/DevCentral. That went live this morning for folks who are subscribed. You would have seen that early ahead of time. So we go a little bit more into what this brings to the table, though. I think it'll be really interesting for the intents of what people are trying to do with Ethereum as opposed to something like Bitcoin, which Kevin contrasted in there, like being able to build Web3 and be able to have those fast transactions instead of waiting. Not that it was a lot long or a lot or the same length of time as Bitcoin, 10 minutes, but faster transactions and being able to use this kind of stores is yeah, it's going to be cool. And the price of GPUs will come down too, so that'll be cool. Hopefully,
my son will be happy. Wow, he needs some more gaming stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah. Maybe we can build out video editing rigs for really cheap now as well. That'll be nice.
I'd like that. I could use some help for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Do you remember? I mean, we used to have back in the day. You had the SLI video cards where you could have like two G-forces stuck together, if you recall. Like, years ago, I guess. I don't know if you still do that or not.
Well, I'm not sure. I know NVIDIA had some capabilities in that wheelhouse, I guess, maybe 5-6 years back. But I didn't investigate it. It's been a long time since I've been able to game. So
yeah,
really
and
long.
You know
time.
what? These days, the games are. My son's got the Microsoft Flight Simulator. After we built out that rig for him, and it's like, it looks real. Like, I can't believe the graphics that he's getting out of it. And he's just got a single screen. Like, I've seen some of the people with like full sim rigs with the triple screens around them and totally immersive experience, and to the point where they have like replica cockpits built out. But yeah, it's with the price of GPUs, if it does come down and maybe with this law, maybe that changes things as well. But it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it would be interesting. And it's funny, you're reminding me of I don't know if you know Jesse Driscoll. He's he used to be in our performance testing team, and now is a service provider solutions engineer. And he's got one of those like immersive desks. It's fantastic. Like the thing looks
nice.
like, it's like a chaise lounge. Three screens that are kind of held above his head.
Oh wow,
it's just unbelievable, man. Like the chair alone, I think he said cost like $3,000 or something. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be comfortable though. That's cool.
It is. I'm thinking like nap time though. When he showed it to me, he's thinking video games. I'm thinking nap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm guessing he's a little bit younger than us.
A little bit younger than us, yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Alrighty, so I think that wraps it up for today. Again, if you want to watch the remainder of that discussion, that can be found on youtube.com/DevCentral. That went live this morning. It's called Ethereum's Transition to Proof of Stake. Otherwise, if you are watching from YouTube right now and you haven't already, hit subscribe, which should be down below Aubrey there. Below me should be a like button, so make sure you hit that one. Yep, Aubrey's hitting it right now. And then otherwise, tune into or join the conversation on community.f5.com and head over into the DevCentral Connects group, where we had 2 articles that we didn't get to chat about today, and we'll continue that conversation over there. So on behalf of myself, on behalf of Aubrey and the rest of the DevCentral team, we will see you all next week. Bye, folks.
Have fun.
Well, thanks for checking out that video. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. While you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. You might want to check out one of these videos over here. And if you haven't already, go check out community.f5.com. This is where all the DevCentral Connects hosts hang out, as well as the rest of the community. It's free to sign up, and we'll see you there.